Guys, super excited with today's guest. She is the author of one of 2020's most amazing albums. There was a lot of great music last year, but today Skylar Gregg joins us. She unleashed on the world Roses in August of 2020. And Skylar, what an album that you unleashed there.
Thank you for saying that.
Long Way Back, Roses, Drunk in Nashville. I mean, look, we love all your stuff. Time Machine 2017, we love it all. But this one, Jeff, you just brought this retro elements into 2020 of country that just unbelievable. What an album. Congratulations.
Man, thank you for saying that. We worked really hard on it.
Yeah.
It was a long time coming.
A long time coming.
We were excited to release it.
Absolutely.
Even though it was weird, but it ended up having a lot of good things happen with it, so
good.
It's great.
Good, Skylar. And everyone can find out more about Skylar Gregg on skylargregg.com and on Instagram at Skylar Gregg as well. And Skylar, let's start with this. Just recently you performed for John Prine's death anniversary, first time playing with an in-band like in a long time. And for your birthday, you performed at the 5 Spot in Nashville. So music is coming back. Live music is coming back. How do you feel now that like your album and your artistry is coming to life?
Both of those shows at the 5 Spot was the first time that I've played in public with a full band, which there wasn't anybody there. It was kind of like this, where it's just a couple people, but it still felt good to have my whole band there. And then last night was just me in front of actual people. And after not doing that for like a year, you get pretty nervous. Mm-hmm. And so at first I was like, I had kind of like lost that a little bit before this giant pause that we've had. I kind of like wasn't getting very nervous, and I think in some ways it was probably a good thing to be a little bit nervous because I was really like on top of my game and ready to go. And then man, when I finished, I just like sat there and was like, oh yeah, I do really like to do this. Like I can't wait to like get back into it, you know what I mean? So it was really awesome, both of those shows.
Yeah. Is it like riding a bike that once you get the first couple songs out of the way, you're off to the races? Or is it like, man, like the chords, the harmonica, the drumsticks, like the little minutia?
It's such a weird thing because I remember yesterday I was sitting on my couch and it was like 30 minutes out from actually being in front of an audience or anything, and so I was thinking to myself like, oh my gosh, in 30 minutes I'm going to be standing in front of people playing this chord, you know what I mean? You're like, what is that going to feel like? And then when you actually kind of get to it, it really does. You just fall in and you sit back and you're like, yeah, your body just kind of like does the thing,
So why were you nervous? And the reason why I asked that question is because I do a lot of a backstage portrait project at City Winery here in Nashville. And back when they reopened, I think it was in August, like Keb Mo was there. And then a lot of artists were coming in, and Keb Mo looked at me, and we did some photos, and he goes, dude, and I've known Kevin a long time, he goes, dude, I'm really friggin' nervous right now. And I looked at him and I went, okay. And then the Lone Bellow came in, and they're like walking around, they're pacing around, and I go, guys, what is, we're really nervous. So I didn't get to ask them that question. Why were you so nervous?
One of the reasons I was nervous last night is because I was doing Angel from Montgomery on the anniversary of John Prine's, passing, which was already emotional. And then, you're doing like his most famous song for this tribute show.
No pressure.
And you haven't played in front of people in a year. So I was like, I was just nervous I was going to forget the words or skip over something or not remember a chord or, anything like that. But for somebody like Keb Mo or the Lone Bellow, like they play in front of these giant audiences. You don't really expect for them to have those kinds of nerves,
Exactly. But they were all, everybody who was back there, who was playing for the first time in 8, 9, 10 months, were all nervous. And I'm like, wow, that's really, really interesting.
Yeah. But, I think it's good for you.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's good to be nervous. It's good to get a little jittery and get your adrenaline pumping, you know? If you're not nervous and just getting up there and just playing through everything, it's kind of like, you know.
I get nervous before every photo shoot that I do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where you're just like.
It doesn't matter what I'm doing, but every photo shoot that I do, I feel nervous, anxious, and all that good stuff, no matter who I'm shooting and no matter where I am. And I've been doing it for 20-something years.
Right.
I think it never goes away. I mean, I've heard interviews, Chris Martin, Bono say that they still get nervous after every show.
Yeah.
And that's part of the artistic journey, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So Skylar, let me ask you this. We're like at the anniversary of the pandemic. Like we're pretty much we're almost out of the weeds. So we can almost kind of like look back on it a little bit now. I want to ask you about like this time last year when people were really like in their homes without distractions. Because you've been working pretty much for a long time, nonstop in your career, in your music, in your craft. What was it like those 2 months around this time when there were no distractions for your creativity? Like that was like was it like a special
I
time?
was so lucky because of where I was in that record cycle. I had already finished with the studio. I didn't record Roses at our home studio. I used a producer, John Estes, and we went to his studio. But we were really lucky also that we do have a home studio. So we kind of like tidied some things up and did some finishing work at our house during that time and just sent it to him, which was really a blessing. And then I was so lucky that I just had all this, because I do have a day job. I'm a barber as well. I cut hair and stuff. And I was just so lucky to have all this time to really dig in and focus on releasing a record. And I was just like, I'm just going to release it and see what happens if I've got all this time to do all these interviews and send all these emails and do all these phone calls. And now looking back on it and thinking about having to do that right now, like when life is like picking back up and coming back into it, you're like, man, like, I'm not saying I can't do it, but it will not be quite as leisurely as it was to just hang out at your house and be able to like wake up at 8 a.m. and know that you can have an 8-day day on your computer and do all that stuff, you know, which is, you know, already hard to make yourself do as a creative. I'm sure you guys know, like, this is the fun part, you know, like this is the fun part.
What people
the
see,
email,
right?
Oh yeah, the emails and the phone calls and the that kind of stuff can be, you know,
Tedious.
Yeah, tedious. And sometimes a little heavy on your mental health, you know? You get a lot of no's. But then the yeses feel so good, you know? For sure.
Did you look at the pause last year around this time? Because it was pretty crazy here in Nashville right around this time with the tornado, you know, and all that was going on. When everything stopped, did you look at it eventually or through it as a gift to like step back into yourself and maybe rediscover things, take the pause and use it constructively? Because I know I did.
Totally. So another real blessing that was serendipitous for the pause that happened is that I had just finished reading a book and doing the program, The Artist Way, by Julia Cameron.
I just finished it.
Oh, you did?
I
so
did.
It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
So I was
your morning pages. Did you do your morning pages every day?
Morning pages. I did every. I think
Are you still doing your morning pages?
I do morning pages sometimes, not quite as like you know, bound to them. But man, if you are an artist or a creative, which honestly, like everyone is a creative, you know, that book just can be a real game changer. I think that I'll probably do it once every like 5 years now, just because it really. But coming out of that, I think I was on week 10. It's a 12-week program, and I was on week 10 when the pandemic hit, and it really, really helped somebody who is generally a pessimist take it as a positive solution. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like how me and my husband have talked a lot about how Brian Eno in the studio has that deck of cards. I can't remember what they're called, but he like will, if it feels stagnant, like the creativity in the room feels stagnant, he'll like pull out a card and be like, everybody switch instruments, or we're gonna take a walk around outside, or like something
Change
to
the
just
energy,
like
change the state.
to change your state of mind, or just to go do something different. And man, if this hasn't been just a just giant Brian Eno card from the universe, you know what I mean? Just like, all right, well, you're gonna have to think about everything differently now and figure it out. And honestly, I think that it sparked a lot of like creative energy and a lot of positivity for me.
Right.
Granted, like, after I released the record and had like the come down of that, I had some moments of just like terror.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I also, will say that I was blessed in that I could keep my job after a certain point and some other things like that. And my husband, he's a professional bass player, so not quite as lucky, but he's been really making it work. I'm proud of him too.
That's
so
nice.
It's been awesome.
So while we're on the subject of the global pause, a lot of people had to find different ways of maybe making ends meet, doing different things. And I know I have. I started thinking out of the box. I was doing the artist way. I did the 12-week in the middle of it all, which is
It's a good time to do it.
Yeah, it was pretty much. I did it with two friends.
Yeah.
And we were each other's accountability partner in doing it, and then we would gather every Sunday morning and talk about it.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was really cool. So I had to find some different ways of channeling my creative energy and all that good stuff. So a lot of people are doing unique things. Was there anything unique that you did during this global pause that might have shifted stuff in you?
Totally. So me and my husband picked up, and we found out about it through some other musician friends who obviously weren't playing gigs, and so they were trying to find different ways to make money. And so my husband plays frisbee golf like every day of the pandemic now with these other musicians, and they were talking about this company called Songfinch, where they do personalized songs for people, like birthdays, anniversaries, and this kind of stuff. And he came home and he was like, man, we should check this out. We should sign up for it. And so we did, and we have done a ton of them. I mean, it's a silly job, and you learn a lot about people, but it's been really fun. And the company, the guys that I've been interacting with have been really cool. But yeah, we've been writing personalized jingles for people. So, it uses your skill set, and
making people happy.
Yeah.
So what were some of the jingles?
Yeah.
Because I have friends who actually do that for a living in LA.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have a friend of mine owns his own company, and that's what he does.
Yeah.
He writes jingles for commercials and all that good stuff. So we could do a whole show on this, but what were some
crazy stories?
Yeah, like what were some of the?
Yeah.
Because from seeing your face, it was probably when you got into it, you probably laughed a lot.
We laughed so much, and some of them are really, you have like, we did a wedding dance song, which is like, that makes you feel good and it's soft. And then we got a lot of really funny ones. We did some.
Then you get the divorce song a couple months later.
Yeah,
right.
No, really.
Divorce song. But divorce is too expensive. They can't afford it. But we did, like I said, a wedding dance, and we did a baby announcement, anniversaries, birthdays. We've done a couple, like, I'll spare the details, but a couple like PG-13
Really? That's awesome.
ones, which just crack us up. It's cool, but yeah.
And do you have all the recordings?
We do.
Did you save them all?
We save them all. I believe the contract says that Songfinch owns them, so I don't know if I could like send them out.
Okay.
Right.
Because I thought, just like you get back on the road and you're back into your thing and stuff like that. So I don't want to go on this. So even when you get back on the road and you start playing out again, and are you still going to do the jingles?
I think I probably will. I mean, it's so it really is kind of a skill sharpener in a lot of ways. You know, you're just like, it just is more writing music. Like you're just writing music more, and mixed with that in with regular co-writes, and then writing for, you know, whatever my next record is, and writing for my friends, and
flexible
writing
scheduling as well.
Yeah, totally flexible. You know,
they
give you kind of like this window, and I totally think that I'll keep doing it until they quit sending them to me.
I wonder how many people out there, musicians, during the global pause, found something new like this.
The beautiful thing about it is that you're dealing with creatives.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
They're gonna find creative solutions.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of and of course it's been challenging, and I'm not trying to just say that it's like it's been so easy for me, you know, because that would it's been tough on everybody, you know. I'm just trying to be a glass half full kind of person, but you're dealing with these creative people, and I've watched a lot of my friends and family just be like, well, I guess I'll just figure it out.
I guess I'll just
when you
figure it
don't
out.
have any other options.
And that's the beauty. That's a human spirit. Like when you put yourself against like that, you grow.
Yeah,
Anyway.
totally.
And one more question on this, and did they find you?
No, I contacted them.
You contacted them.
We have a friend who does it, and then he gave us their contact, and then we contacted them. So
Perfect.
yeah.
Very cool.
So Skylar, why don't you play a song for us with that beautiful guitar of yours?
Yeah, totally.
Do you,
sure.
do you name your guitars? That's a beautiful guitar.
You know, I don't.
You don't name the
I
guitar?
haven't named it.
Look at
but
that.
Maybe I
Look at that
should.
wood. Look at that. Stunning.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what are you thinking?
So I just wrote this song. I'm kind of gonna do like a little bit of a, I don't know, pandemic thematic situation.
Can you play some of those jingles?
The COVID
I wish
blues.
I could. The COVID blues.
Are we allowed to do jingles on a podcast that you've?
I don't know the rules of that. I don't know what the legalities of doing that is, but I have a co-writer in town that I write with named Cole Miracle, and we've been writing over Zoom, which has been an interesting experience, but I honestly don't really mind it that much. It's kind of like, you know, you're in your own house on your own couch where you sit and write anyways.
Yeah.
You don't have to, and I already know him, which makes it easier. But we wrote this song about, he is married as well, and about how, you know, you spend so much time with a person in this room, just this one person, and they get to see like all these different sides of you, you know? And so we wrote this song called The Only One in the Room. I think it's pretty good. Anyways, me and Cole wrote this. Do you want me to play?
Yeah. Be honored.
I'm not mad, I'm just frustrated. Trapped in my own skin and I hate it. I don't mean to be so mean. I'm not half as angry as I seem. You're the only one in the room right now. So you get all of me, that's how you go. Like a tree that's standing all alone in a field where the thunder rolls and the lightning strikes. You're in the spotlight, yeah, honey, you are the only one in the room. I'm so happy I can't take it. The touch of your skin, oh, I crave it. I don't mean to be all over you, unless the truth is that you want me to. You're the only one in the room right now. So you get all of me, that's how you go. like a tree that's standing all alone in a field where the thunder rolls and the lightning strikes. In the spotlight, honey, you are the only one in the room. Even in a crowd of 1,000, it's you. When you look at me the way you always do, I look into those eyes and it feels like you're the only one in the room right now. So you get all of me, that's how it goes. Like a tree that's standing all alone in a field where the thunder rolls and the lightning strikes. You're in the spotlight, yeah, honey, you. Honey, oh, honey, you. Honey, you are the only one in the room.
Beautiful.
So Skylar, a song like that, the only one in the room. I mean, I have to ask you, because I'm not an artist and I love the creative process, so I love asking about it. When you came up with it, and all your great songs, from Roses, all of them, by the way, that whole album is amazing. Do you tell your husband, like, honey, I am going to go into my office with my cat at 9 a.m., I'll see you at 5 o'clock, don't bother me? Or is it more like, you know, you can be here, you can be leaving, and the inspiration strikes, and you got to pull over and record a note on your phone?
Oh, man. All of the above. I mean, sometimes, like that song was with my co-writer, and so we were just sitting there and talking, we were just having a conversation, and that's usually what leads, like, oh, there's something in there, you know? You just kind of start talking, and then something moves you. But, yeah, I mean, sometimes, like Roses, for instance, I was at a Lily May show, who probably is playing at Americana Fest this year, and I really think that she's great. She's a great songwriter, great guitar player, has a great band.
I have a great Lily May story.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, yeah.
How I met her.
And she's super nice also, and I think that she knows about this, but I had gone to see her at Americana Fest, I guess 3 years ago now, maybe 2, and was standing at the old basement, and there was a lady standing in front of me with this like really strong smelling perfume on, and then she was holding her iPad up in front of her, and so I was pretty much like watching Lily May through her iPad, which was like, I was like, oh my god,
with the stench.
Yeah, and then everybody's standing there, and I like to go to those shows by myself usually, just so I can like hang and just like not be on anybody else's schedule, and I can watch the music and listen and try to take everything in. So I'm standing there by myself, and the crowd's like rustling, and she hasn't started playing yet, and I just had the idea for Roses, and while I was standing there, I just kind of like wrote that song in my head.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh man, I couldn't, after she got done playing, I just like jetted back to my house, sat down on the couch, and then just played it. And
amazing.
There's not very many songs that I have that are like that, but that was one that just kind of like came together really easily like that. Wow. And then some of them you start writing 10 years ago, and you're still, you know, you're still sitting down with it, and like, I know there's something good here, I just kind of have to like unlock it, you know? So it just depends. But yeah, I let myself in a room a lot.
Amazing.
To work on that stuff.
And you come from a family of musicians, Skylar. I mean, your dad, your husband, the whole thing. Watching you play, I also had the question, can anybody be a great musician, Skylar? Like, if I take my neighbor, John Smith, and he puts in the 10,000 hours, can he become a great musician, or are you born with it?
I think that everything is work, you know? I think that everything is learning, and I just can't imagine that you would spend 10,000 hours on a guitar and not be able to play it, you know? Like, I think that you probably, some of it, I think a lot of it comes easier to people. Like I think that people have natural rhythm. That's something I have to work on a lot. I don't really necessarily have really natural rhythms, so I have to practice to a metronome a lot and that kind of stuff, you know. Some people are really naturally gifted vocalists. Some people need some lessons. I've taken lessons, you know, and stuff like that. And I think if you want to do anything, you can do it, you know. I mean, there's plenty of artists and musicians that don't have like your typical commercial playing or your typical commercial voice or something like that. And it's more about finding your voice and your art than being like exactly what anyone expects of you. And
Yeah.
I think that all people sing beautiful in their own way when they're being true to their own voice.
So when did you find your voice?
I think I'm still looking for it.
Really?
I think that this is just like for me personally, I really am in love with the journey. You know, I really like to feel better every time that I play, or feel better, which doesn't always happen, but you know, you want to do better and feel better about it every single time. And I hope by the time that I'm like, you know, 75 years old, I'm still playing and I, you know, will really rule.
So that I looked in your website, and I have a question that I want to put off to the end, but I saw your influences. Andrew Leahy, Langhorne Slim.
Right. I think that you were reading the section about the people that John Estes has worked with. Not that those people aren't influences of mine, because they absolutely are. But the producer of the last record
those
worked
are his,
with him, and that's why.
Because they're all friends of mine, anyway.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
so scrap that question.
But I do love Langhorne. I think he's awesome.
Isn't he?
Yeah, he's great.
I've
yeah.
known those guys, all of them, John Paul White and Robin Hitchcock. I photographed all of them many times.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I've worked them. Okay, so scrap that question. And the reason why I was going to ask that, when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's 4 men. So I'm going to, you know, that was a curveball. Now I'm going to go. So who are your influences? Who are the ones that have really touched your heart, that you heard, that you listened to and said, I feel that, I really feel that, and that's what I want to do?
I do like Bobby Gentry a lot, which is the cover that I did that we were talking about earlier of Mississippi Delta. But I think that when you hear somebody like that and they're kind of doing something that's a little on the edge, you know, like it wasn't so typical, and that a lot of men were doing that, and not a lot of times you get told, like, you know, women are supposed to sound like this, you're supposed to do this, and I guess I'm sure men get told the same thing, but you know, you see somebody that's kind of just like doing their thing and being a little different, and that's really cool, you know. But
well,
also, like,
you know what it is? I talked to an artist this week. She did a cover of Waylon Jennings songs.
Yeah.
And she had a little bit of like the same conundrum. And I think that you also, like, people used to assimilate these roles of leadership, high character, go-getter attitude with like manhood incorrectly in the past.
Yeah.
But I think that you know, that is something that you have as an artist, and it's regardless of the sex. It's just like, you know.
Yeah, I think that's been changing so much over the past like 20 or 30 years.
Exactly.
You know, that it's not as much that way as it used to be, but it was cool. And then, you know, I am influenced by a lot of men. Like, I love Sturgill Simpson. I think he rules, you know, and I think that his songwriting is fantastic. And then even stuff like the, you know, the soulfulness of somebody like Aretha Franklin, and like listening to those, how the notes just like have so much power and that kind of stuff is just, so many influences, you know.
I love it.
I got really blessed to just be surrounded by a lot of different kinds of music.
Yeah.
Gospel, and my husband is from Memphis, and so lots of like Memphis blues influence.
He's great.
once I met him, and but yeah.
I love it. Skylar, let me ask about your fashion, because
Yeah.
your fashion is amazing. It's off the charts. It
Thank
really
you
is.
for saying that.
And you have this iconic yellow suit.
Oh.
That is like, you know, it's part of your show sometimes. Do you have like a change of state when you get into that suit? Is it like a superpower? Because like it does, right? Tell me
I
about
feel
it.
like I am a superhero in that suit. That suit was made by my friend Sibel Elena,
Yeah.
who is a creative in town, and she's amazing. Actually, this shirt is custom by Carly Jackson, another designer friend of mine. Yeah, but Sibel rules, and she made me that suit over the quarantine. It was really fun to think about, you know, my first show out of this, I'm going to wear this awesome suit that you made for me.
Yeah,
But yeah, that suit rules.
it rules.
And she's it says bless your heart on the back. I don't know if you knew that or not, but that's my favorite part.
It says bless your heart.
It says bless your heart on the
It's
back.
amazing.
So as you're leaving, you know.
And we know what that means.
Oh, we know.
So,
we know what that means.
so have you heard Angelina Presley's song?
No, did she
Bless
have a
Your
song
Heart?
called Bless Your Heart?
Go listen to that song.
Oh man, I will.
If you know Angelina Presley, she's a wise ass. She's great.
Oh, that's awesome.
But go and listen to that song.
I also have a song called Bless Your Heart, so I'm curious if how different it is from the one that I read.
There's a line in the song. It's I don't know the exact line, but it's like, if you say bless your heart, I'll smack your face.
Oh, great, yeah.
So I don't think Jamie knows the bless your heart thing.
Didn't we?
I learned it. We may have even talked about it.
I think that I schooled him on it.
They just schooled him on it?
I think so. I think so.
The bless your heart.
Oh yeah.
What people are really saying, what women are really saying
yeah.
when they say, "Oh, bless your heart."
I think
Yeah, it's
Skylar
very
was in the
sassy.
podcast, and I think there was a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about that. So you
Yeah.
learn that as somebody from the South. You learn that.
You've been a Southern influence on Jrodconcerts. I just you gotta give it up to that. Absolutely, absolutely, Skylar. And okay, and just going back to Roses for a second, it was a 10-year project, right?
Yeah, a few of those
few of the
songs.
songs were-
Anywhere from I bet like a handful, like 3 or 4 of them are about 10 years old, and then Everything's Gonna Be Fine. We wrote like when we were already in the studio. So
Yeah.
anywhere from
Okay.
10 years ago to
So we're not gonna have to wait another 10 years for
No.
Roses too, right?
I've
Tulips.
had- for tulips.
Roses too.
Ah, you're onto something there. I don't think so. I've been writing like crazy. I foresee. I don't want to like make any promises I can't keep, but I foresee going into the studio by the end of the year.
Amazing.
I'm pretty pumped up about it.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great, Skylar. Well, listen, I mean, you're such a great ambassador of Nashville. You're such a great ambassador of good songwriting. We're just honored that you're a friend of the show. Honored that you wanted to come. Why don't you take us out with you want to ask another?
Yeah, I have one more question.
Okay, absolutely.
So one of the things I discovered during the global pause was Dan Rather's show, The Big Interview, on Access TV.
Okay.
It is amazing. He's interviewed people like Perry Farrell,
Yeah.
everybody.
Princess Diana, the whole
I mean,
thing, yeah.
he had Robbie Krieger and John Densmore on. He had Carly Simon, and he's amazing. And his interviews are just, I love them. He had Ann and Nancy Wilson on. I don't know if he does this every show, but every show that I've seen him, he's asked this question.
Uh-oh.
So, Skylar Gregg, who are you?
Oh. Who am I? I don't know. How do you answer that if you're still figuring that out? I hope that I can truly be an entertainer. I love making people laugh and making people cry and making people dance and making people, we talked about this earlier, make people feel stuff, you know? So I think I'm on a journey to try to figure out how to do that, even day to day, not just as a musician, but even when I'm cutting hair at the barbershop, like making sure that person like feels really good when they leave, you know?
Nice.
Not just about their hair, but about their
state.
their soul and their day, you know? So I think I'm on a journey to find that. And I would like for that to be, you know, when I die, be who I'm remembered as, I guess. So.
Making people feel something within themselves about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
How does that
That's a
sound?
great, beautiful thing.
That sounds great. That sounds better than what I said.
But that's you.
The summary, for sure, for sure.
Awesome.
Well, as an artist, as a photographer, that's my intention
Yeah,
is to reveal that to the world in who I'm photographing,
totally.
which you will experience after we're finished here.
Oh man, maybe you'll help me find myself a little bit more. I have a feeling that might happen.
So Skylar, with that beautiful summary of who you are and your essence, and that we need more of in the world, everybody, why don't you take us out? What are you gonna take us out with?
For sure. So I'm gonna do a song called "Everything's Gonna Be Fine."
There you
As
go.
it will be, hopefully.
There you go.
I wrote this really for my husband because he is quite the worrier sometimes, and I was like, man, this needs a. He's my muse a lot, you know what I mean? So this song goes out to him today. Lean a little closer. I got something I hope will ease your mind. I got news for your poster people. Not everything works out right all the time. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, baby. 'Cause everything's gonna be fine. Ooh, yeah. Oh, it's gonna rain. There will be some dark and stormy nights. Into the sunny days. With you and me, baby, everything will turn out just fine. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, baby. 'Cause everything's gonna be fine. Ooh, yeah. It's gonna be fine, 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 fine. Maybe we get 90 years, but we'll be lucky if we make it through the night. I will soak up every minute, every second, until the day that I die. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, baby. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, baby. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, baby. 'Cause everything's gonna be fine. Ooh, yeah. It's gonna be fine.
Very cool.
We'll be fine.
We will be fine.